U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry says President Barack Obama has asked his aides to rethink options on the situation in Syria. Kerry said evaluation by necessity is occurring at this time, and new options will be presented when the president calls for them. On the same note, State Department spokeswoman Marie Harf said diplomacy will remain the focus of the U.S. efforts on the issue. Elsewhere, White House spokesman Jay Carney said Obama expected his national security team to constantly re-evaluate policy options on Syria. Meanwhile, the Pentagon Press Secretary John Kirby said the Defense Department has been asked to contribute new ideas for resolving the Syria conflict. Meanwhile, the Syrian opposition and government delegates say the peace talks in Geneva have hit a dead end. Well, let's cross over to Ontario now. Joining us via Skype is Ken Stone with the Hamilton Coalition to Stop the War. Many thanks for joining us here on Press TV. Now, first of all, Mr. Stone, why do you think that Obama has asked for this re-evaluation of the situation in Syria?
I think that it's a very worrisome development, because if the peace talks at Geneva II are not going well, we have to ask why. Who is impeding the peace talks? And I think that John Kerry is the one who is impeding the peace talks. The very first thing out of his mouth at Geneva II was that the only way forward was for Syrian President Bashar al-Assad to step down. And Kerry said that was part of the Geneva communique from Geneva I conference in 2012. And nothing could be further from the truth. The Geneva I conference said that there should be a transitional government, but that talks should take place without preconditions. In other words, Mr. Bashar al-Assad could very well end up to be the president in a transitional government, since he does indeed have the support of 70% of Syrians, according to various studies. And if Obama is saying that he's calling upon his Defense Department to look for other options, I would say that he's saying is that they are going to be moving away from a possible diplomatic solution to which the entire world is looking forward to, towards more armed struggle against more aggression against the Syrian government. And when he says that kind of stuff, that Bashar al-Assad has to go, when Mr. Kerry says that stuff, and when Mr. Obama says there has to be other options from the Defense Department, he is encouraging those foreign fighters to keep on fighting. He is encouraging them not to talk at Geneva II, but rather to try and continue their war of aggression, their covert war of aggression, which is being financed by the Arab monarchies and by the governments in the West against the legitimate government of Syria. I think it's a very worrisome development.
Indeed, but at the same time, State Department spokeswoman Marie Harf has said that diplomacy will remain the focus of U.S. efforts on the issue. Do you buy that?
No. I would like to think so, but the proof of the pudding is in the eating. And at Geneva II, the American government, the U.S. government, I should say, could have easily have made some compromises, could easily have indicated that it wanted the war to be wound down. They could have given signals that the foreign fighters were not going to be supported anymore, but they didn't do any of those things. And instead, we've heard every week more and more libels against the Syrian government, the 55,000 photos and the destruction of buildings and so on. The propaganda war hasn't stopped for an instant. So I would say that even though they say that they're focusing on diplomacy, it doesn't seem that they are looking for a diplomatic solution. It's worrisome.
Okay, let's see how that pans out. That was Ken Stone with the Hamilton Coalition to Stop the War, joining us from Ontario via Skype. Many thanks for joining us here on Press TV, Mr. Stone.